for this $1.7 billion, give us a list and the documents, the legal documents. So if there's a contract, produce it. If you're paying down a note, because you took out a loan from past contracts, projects that are in the ground, produce the note and the payment books. So those of you out there who have loans for your homes or your student debt or whatever, you get a payment book, don't you? It's not a mystery, is it? No, you enter into the agreement with the bank, say, I'm going to borrow $1,000 at 10% or whatever, and it'll be paid back over 10 months or 10 years or whatever you agree to, and you know how much you're giving the bank, don't you? You can add it up. And sometimes you can pay it off early without penalty, but sometimes you can't. Right? Sometimes they would prefer you not to pay it off. Well, we want to know that, for goodness sakes. If the city's entered into agreements with lenders, we need to know every single detail. Now, would you be upset if we were doing business with the Bank of America? Those of you that know Bank of America, criminal, right? That treated us well, in my opinion. Well, many details that people would need to know to understand if this money is being used wisely. But anyway, there's the question that I put to you: are we broke? I don't know. It seems to me that we're not, but I'm willing to be proven otherwise. All right, now let's talk TIF locally. The TIF Illumination project does the following things for the wards that we visit. We tell you how many TIFs are in your ward. We tell you how much property tax we estimate has been taken from the ward by those TIFs, just in the bounds of the ward. We tell you how much is left over in that account from the ward at the end of the year. We tell you what projects have been funded by TIFs, who got paid. In Chicago, we want to know who got paid. We want to know the lifetime extraction of TIFs that are 100% in your ward. And we want to also tell you if any money transferred in or out of the ward. We can tell you that. And finally, there's a new thing we're telling you, is the city is skimming the skim. So the Department of Planning and Development is grabbing some funny money as it goes by them for their own internal administrative costs. So this is a new finding, that $7.5 million has been sucked by the Department of Planning across all the TIFs in Chicago for their internal costs, which is unusual because they're a budgetary agency that puts their budget forward, like I mentioned earlier. So presumably the commissioner has asked for and has received the money that he needs to run his department, but because all this TIF money goes flowing through his hands, he's able to hold on to $7.5 million of it without accounting for it. If he can take it, then he does. All right, so that's what we tell you. The TIF Illumination project has been all over the city. Every ward that you see outlined in red is a meeting that we've done, just like we're doing tonight. I'm a full-time volunteer for the Civic Lab. This is a passion of mine. I think you guys deserve to know this, but people all over the city feel the same way as you do. And they've come to meetings just like this, taking off their good time to come and learn and to communicate with each other. We started about 1.5 years ago, and it's just been gangbusters ever since. These are meetings that are happening in Englewood, in Washington Park, in the 49th Ward, in Logan Square, in the 39th Ward, in Englewood. This is the 33rd Ward. It was packed. There's Alderman Mel and Cologne. And here we are tonight. So give yourselves a round of applause for showing up, because honestly, leadership starts with showing up. You agree? Yeah, well, you guys are here. So good for you. Good on you. We'll be in the 25th Ward on November 20th and the 11th Ward on December 4th. The party just keeps going. All right, here we are in the 27th Ward. So notice we're showing the map of the, I don't know if we could say the old ward or the ward as it is. We're kind of in this in-between time. The wards are shifting. But our data is historical, so we're looking backwards to the ward as it kind of is now. So that's the first thing you need to know. So we have 12 TIFs that we're looking at. Starting with the Canal, Southwest Congress, Central West, Chicago, Kingsbury, Division, Kinsey is a big one, near North, near West, North Branch, South, Northwest Industrial Corridor, Pulaski, and the River West. And they are modestly, there's a few mature TIFs from the 90s, late 90s. So we're talking about these things that have been around 15 years, give or take. set, if you will, in their activities. And the map that you have, which was produced by a great artist named Carl So, will lay this out. Now, unfortunately, because of my poor eyesight, there's actually a typo, and we'll point that out to you right now, that the Central West TIF should be listed as, call it $13 million. So that's my bad. But, so you can scratch out the 2 million number under Central West and write 13 million. And then we'd adjust the total accordingly. So that aside from, that's just a clerical error on my part, what we're trying to tell you is how much money these TIFs have extracted from the ward. And that's what these green numbers are. So this one being incorrect. But you put all that together, and you're going to get about $70 million. So what we're saying to you is approximately those 12 TIFs extracted about $70 million from this ward last year. That's new information. It's never been shown before. Congratulations. You just learned something that nobody else knows. Okay, now we ask where the money has gone. It's only fair. Money out, money in. The dots, and you can see they're all numbered, correspond to this legend here. We break it down into three ways. We break it down into public, private, and non-profit. The bulk of your money has been spent on private projects, which is what TIFs originally were set for. But unusually, you have a lot of nonprofits being funded here, and we can talk about that in a minute. And also some schools. You have some schools construction, which is a permitted use of TIFs, though an unwise one. So when we get to this part of the meeting, people start to look at these names. Does anybody know what Parkside Old Town LLC is? Anybody? Somebody says he does? Yeah?
The construction building they building back in Brittany Green, eh?
If that's a question, I don't know. See, we're all volunteers, so sometimes when we do these meetings, we end up with more questions than answers. Here's one I do know the answer to. North Branch Development LLC. Anybody know what that is?
No, but you can tell me. What is it?
It feels like it might be a housing project, because it sounds like it, but it isn't. It's a water saver. You know what a water saver is? Well, they're building high-end faucets for laboratories and industrial use in a facility just off Halsted Street, across from the Freedom Center printing plant. As you go into the viaduct, just on the left, there's a triangular building. That's water saver. So they got $8 million. So how is that? And what did they do with it and why? So I'm sure if we might find a press release that explains why that was the case. Blumber Chocolate, $8 million. Mariana's Grocery, as I already pointed out, $7 million. Jewel Foods, a couple million. H2O Plus. Now here's a funny one. Nano Inc. Nano Inc. Now that's a company that was producing high-end technology for the nano tech area, but it was a business created by a woman named Anne Laurie. Anybody know who she is? You can look out at the Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago. You'll see her name on the side of the building. And she's a billionaire. So she invested in a company called Nano Inc. 120 million or so of her money and $1 million of ours. Or I should say more than $1 million of your money. Well, apparently the business didn't go well and she shuttered it last year. Adios. Your $1 million gone with the wind. Did you know that? Are you cool with that? Is that good use of your $1 million?
I want to say something here. On your list,
Well,
Rush
take a question
Presbyterian,
right
it's not a question.
Well, we'll take
Rush
comments and questions at the end of the presentation.
Rush Presbyterian's not on this list. Why is
I've got
that?
info on that, I noticed that too.
Right, because we gave a lot of money to them. So-
Okay. Good.
I've got some
Well,
info I'm gonna hand out momentarily.
All right.
good. All right. So we'll complete this. As I say, this is done by volunteers. We got to give them some credit. The list goes on. The point is, we can look at every one of these projects and had the same conversation. Nobody knows what they are. Were they a wise use of your money, and did you get consulted at any point along the way? And when I say you, I mean, the citizens of this community, not just in this room tonight, but your neighbors. Was there any kind of a meaningful conversation about the use of these millions and millions, and it adds up to hundreds of millions? Now, the last thing we tell you